SK Hynix, the current market leader in AI memory, recently reported a record quarter and projects a decade of sustained growth. Simultaneously, its U.S. rival, Micron Technology, is adducing found pricing power. How can both the number 1 and number 3 players achieve this in an industry historically defined by commodity economics and fierce price competition? The answer is that the economic rules of the memory market have been fundamentally rewritten. The catalyst is not just a new technology, but a new market dynamic, a qualification crisis. In the AI era, a new gatekeeper, Nvidia, has emerged, and its stringent certification process is now the most critical barrier to entry. SK Hynix's current leadership is a direct result of passing this test first and most effectively. The entire market is now being reshaped by the consequences of this new reality. To understand this industry-wide reordering, we will deconstruct the 5 key chapters of this story: the ascent of SK Hynix, the gatekeeping by Nvidia, the cost of non-qualification, the resulting qualification premium, and the coming war for the next generation. Let's unpack this. SK Hynix's market leadership is now cemented in its financial results. In its second quarter, the company posted a record operating profit of 9.2 trillion won on record revenues, decisively beating its larger rival, Samsung Electronics. The driver for this performance is clear: the surging demand for high-bandwidth memory. SK Hynix confirmed its plan to double HBM sales year over year, underscoring the segment's critical role in its financial success. But the most significant signal is not just in its past performance, but in its future outlook. In a news interview, a senior executive projected that the HBM market will grow by 30% a year until 2030. To meet this projected demand, SK Hynix confirmed it will increase spending this year compared to the previous plans, signaling confidence in the durability of this new market. As the company's head of HBM planning stated, AI demand from the end user is very firm and strong. This combination of record results and a bullish long-term forecast raises a critical question. How did SK Hynix secure this uniquely profitable and dominant position in the first place? Deconstructing how a market leader secures a dominant position and the strategic choices that fuel record results is the core of our analysis in the ARPU newsletter. If you want to get this level of strategic insight regularly, the link is at the top of the description. SK Hynix's strong performance is the direct result of a new dynamic in the AI supply chain. In the old commodity world, memory makers sold standardized parts to a fragmented market. In the new AI era, they must earn certification from a single, dominant gatekeeper, Nvidia. The power of this new dynamic was put on full display by Nvidia's own CEO, Jensen Huang. When asked at Computex about partnering with Samsung, Huang gave what was described as a cool response. He stated that while Samsung was an excellent partner, he was still waiting for Samsung's HBM to pass testing, noting that the company still had engineering hurdles to overcome. This is not an arbitrary standard. HBM is not a simple interchangeable component. It is a complex, vertically stacked system that must be deeply integrated with the GPU. As an SK Hynix executive explained, architects like Nvidia demand bespoke solutions, with each client wanting specific performance or power characteristics. This rigorous qualification process has become the new center of gravity in the memory market. Passing the architect's test is not just a technical milestone, it is now the prerequisite for market leadership. The story of Samsung is the clearest illustration of the cost of failing to qualify. While SK Hynix became Nvidia's key supplier, Samsung was left waiting for approval. As of 2025, its 5th-generation HBM3E chip remains uncertified by Nvidia, despite being delayed for over a year. The root of this failure was not a lack of manufacturing scale, but a deep cultural and strategic misalignment. According to Chi-Yuan Liu, president of Micron, Samsung's leadership had become too business-oriented, thinking like a CFO instead of a CTO, and had dismissed HBM as a niche business. This short-term focus fostered a risk-averse culture that stifled innovation. A bombshell report from the Chosun Ilbo revealed an exodus of top talent from Samsung to SK Hynix. One former engineer stated the core issue. The first response to any new idea at Samsung was a chilling question: will you take responsibility if this fails? He added, that alone kills innovation. This cultural flaw had direct technical consequences. An industry director confirmed that Samsung's initial HBM offerings struggled with thermal issues and a significantly higher defect rate, critical failures for the high-power, high-reliability systems designed by Nvidia. The financial cost of this non-qualification has been severe. In the second quarter, while SK Hynix posted a record profit, Samsung's operating profit for its chip division shrank by nearly 94% compared to a year ago. A company that once dominated the memory market now finds itself in third place in the HBM sector, a direct consequence of failing to meet the architect's standard. The result of this qualification crisis is a severe supply-demand imbalance for certified high-bandwidth memory. With the world's largest memory maker struggling to qualify its top-tier products, the architects of AI have turned to the suppliers who can deliver. This has created a massive qualification premium for any company that can pass Nvidia's test. As one analyst noted, this has created a fundamental shift where historically memory chip makers had to accept thinner margins. This market dynamic is precisely what is reflected in Micron's revised forecast. It explains how the company has had, quote, great success in being able to push that pricing up. They are no longer a price taker. The market's scarcity has granted them pricing power. And the most definitive proof is in the financial results, the 44.5% gross margin. A company that Morningstar defines as having no moat is now delivering peak cycle profitability not because it has become the market leader, but because the very nature of the market has changed. The scarcity of certified HBM has created a new reality. Pricing power is no longer exclusive to the market leader. It is now a reward for qualification. The current market imbalance is not a permanent state. It is the prelude to the next, more intense phase of competition, the war for HBM4. The central battleground remains the architect's gate. All three major players are now in a high-stakes race to qualify their next-generation products for Nvidia's future platforms. SK Hynix, as the current leader, is leveraging its first-mover advantage with plans to mass-produce HBM4 in the second half of 2025. Samsung, having been humbled, is mobilizing its immense scale, vowing it won't repeat the same mistake. This is the context for the recent Goldman Sachs downgrade of SK Hynix. The warning of fiercer competition and a possible decline in HBM product prices is not a bearish call on the HBM market itself. It is an analytical assessment that as a fully mobilized Samsung becomes a viable, qualified competitor in the HBM4 generation, the extreme qualification premium that the current suppliers enjoy will naturally compress. The market is not reverting to a commodity. It is evolving from a supply bottleneck into a competitive, high-stakes oligopoly, where Nvidia's choice will determine the distribution of profits. The AI revolution has permanently altered the memory market, replacing the old rules of the commodity cycle with a brutal multi-generational war for qualification. Leadership is no longer defined by manufacturing scale alone, but by the ability to pass the exacting standards of the systems architect, Nvidia. SK Hynix's Ascent and Micron's newfound pricing power are the direct results of this new dynamic. This raises critical forward-looking questions. Is the qualification premium that is lifting the entire segment a sustainable new normal? Or will the coming competition for HBM4 erode the extraordinary profits the current leaders enjoy? As Samsung fights to regain its position and SK Hynix works to defend its lead, what will the long-term industry structure look like? The new reality of the AI supply chain is clear. The gatekeeper has been established, and the war for qualification has just begun. Understanding these underlying power shifts and knowing which signals to watch is how you cut through the headlines to see the real game. To get this kind of strategic breakdown delivered to your inbox every week, check out our newsletter, ARPU, at the link in the description.